Claire Depré. I don't know, Claire, if you're online. Can you please connect us? Here we are. Good morning, Claire. So, thanks for joining. I know you're on a tight schedule. So just a short introduction. So, Claire Depré is the head of the Road Safety Unit in DG Move of the European Commission. Before being in this position, Claire was head of unit of Sustainable and Intelligent Transport, and before that, head of unit for Intelligent Transport Systems. So there's a lot of connections between, I would say, the topic we're discussing today, which is road safety. We started in the opening speeches with the Spanish local national perspective. We had some data about road safety in Spain. I think as we move forward now in the international policy session, we will take some distance from Spain. We widen a bit the lens to Europe with you, and then we will go to the international environment. So, Claire, the floor is yours. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and very happy to be with you, though not in Zaragoza, a city that I really don't know yet, and I'm saying yes because I really like to see it in the near future. But let me go back to road safety and to the motorcycle community. I'll start a bit with a few data. We have just released last week, actually, the number of the road safety figures. Unfortunately, this year was probably the year where we have been saying that for the last couple of years, but we really comes at a point where we have eaten all the benefits again in COVID. So unfortunately, the figures are going up again, as you can see. So you see the number of deaths for last year, more than 3,300 of these were motorcyclists, which actually mean that 1 of 6 of our fatalities concern motorcyclists, which really say to us that much more attention needs to be put on this user category. I will not mention necessarily the serious injuries figures for those who are very closely working on a EU level, but also at the national level. We all know that these data are a little bit more complicated to produce. Accuracy of the data is not always at best still, because sometimes we get under-reporting, but of our overall estimate, and it's really an estimate, it says that actually 20,000 motorcyclists per year are seriously injured. And that means that many of these have life-changing consequences. So again, that's another element to tell us that much more needs to be done for these constituencies and for this category of road users. When we look at the matrix, that's still data from 2022, because we produce that once we have read the final figures. So out of these 3,300 killed person, 38% are in crashes that are not involving any other type of vehicle. On the contrary, 43% are crashes involving a car, 5 as the result of a collision with a heavy-duty vehicle, and 7 with a lorry. So again, that's kind of physical, I imagine, but the more weight the vehicle has, the more problematic the impact is. But if we go back 2 seconds again on the last decade, and we usually tend to look at figures also from a decade perspective, and we take the figures from 2012 to 2022, we see that the number of motorcyclists are felt actually by 10%, which is a slow rate compared to most of the other road safety users. So to give you a comparison, 10% for motorcyclists, 21% for the overall reduction over this full period. So in the short term, if we get back a little bit closer to us, 2019, 2022, motorcyclist fatalities fell by 6% compared to an overall 10%. So it really shows that, again, focus needs to be there. I have not bring with me...
Claire, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you trying to show the presentation also? Because you had some slides. but we don't see them here. So I don't know if this has been arranged.
So I don't know why.
Because it might be easier to follow this.
Yeah, apologies. We will go on with that. Just the message on these overall figures is, as I've said, that actually motorcyclists are really not served very well, and that means that in terms of policies, in terms of measures that are being taken at national or also EU level, we should be focusing much more on this type of category of road users. When we look at the figures on a national level, we see that Greece, Cyprus are by far the worst fatality rate. Italy accounts for 23% of all motorcyclists killed. And if we look at the trends overall in the overall year, we all, of course, because that's also linked a little bit to the climate, of course, summer months are the ones which are the most problematic. Now, when we look at the data, we look at the outcome, which normally is not the perfect one. But we try to understand a little bit better. And so much has been done as part of a EU project, baseline in the last few years, and trendline more recently, to understand through key performance indicators in the field of road safety what the situation was. And I will not say that this is the key performance indicators for motorcyclists, because actually many of those we are gathering are actually having an impact on the safety of motorcyclists. But one gathered data looked at helmet wearing. And here, I would say in general terms, the compliance rate that we saw overall, the EU was quite good. But still, there were some areas of concern, Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Greece the most. So we hope that with new data coming with trendline and a lot of measures being taken also at national level, these figures overall can improve over time. Now, from the data to the policy, and you asked me to highlight a little bit what was happening from an EU perspective. I would start with the road safety package, which we adopted March this year. 3 legal proposals, one, I would say, much more on the preventive side, 2 others more on the enforcement side. So we propose a revision of the driving license directive, a revision of the cross-border enforcement directive, where we exchange information and we enable a better exchange of information between national authorities, and a new directive on driver disqualification. The 3 of them are extremely useful, I would say, and have certainly provide a number of measures that are also supporting better road safety for motorcyclists. I'm actually quite under pressure today because indeed we have the Transport Committee hopefully endorsing the outcome of a trilogue that we had on the cross-border enforcement directive. The same will go in less than 1 hour time in Coreper. What I want to highlight, maybe besides the range of offenses that we are covering in that context, is the fact that we have empowered much more, also thanks to the presidency, we have empowered much more member states cooperation through mutual assistance. And this mutual assistance even can apply at the stage of the enforcement of the fines. So we really hope that this makes a game changer in the enforcement policies. For the 2 other proposals, first reading of the Parliament on the table, attention much more to vulnerable road users, including when it comes to driver disqualification. So I will not mention more than that because we will have certainly other occasion to look into it. Just the last point that I want to mention is the upcoming work. And in terms of the upcoming work, you know that we have a road safety management, infrastructure management directive. As part of this work, we are developing guidelines when it comes to self-enforcing and self-explanatory roads. We have noted, and we are very happy to have on board the motorcyclist constituency. I really swear we will put really road user at the core, at the center, really with the road user-centric approach, so that we can try to see how to best, develop guidelines and best practices in that area, so that many member states can take that on board, especially having in mind also motorcyclists in that context. We aim to have this work finalized by 2026. So a lot of work ahead of us, but still, I know a very committed community. Roadworthiness package, we have done a lot of work on that front. Be reassured that we have been taken into account all the contribution received so far from every type of road safety stakeholders, including from this community. The solid work that I think many public authorities are expecting, and the road safety stakeholders at large, will certainly lead to a package of proposal as soon as possible. I want to also stress that the general safety regulation will come at some point to a midterm review, some sort of evaluation in 2027, and maybe a request to all of you to think a little bit about how technology in the vehicle can help also outside of the vehicle. So I hope that you start thinking and start reflecting of any input you might wish to provide in that context. And to finalize, just to say that these two let's call them governance structure, the one at national level and the one at EU level, are very interlinked, right? That's the message that the Court of Auditors, the European Court of Auditors, has provided very recently, highlighting the fact that we have not done enough in terms of efforts to support the road safety objective, both in terms of 2030, where we have to halve fatalities and serious injuries, as well as reaching then this almost close to zero death and serious injuries in the EU. So with that in mind, we are working with member states. We will have a lot of work going on in the next months to evaluate a little bit where we stand, whether our measures, EU and also the national measures, are up to the needs and to the efforts that are needed, with the aim to be able to see how to take the best advantage of the last 5 years of this decade and putting us back in the right track. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. I think it's a shame we couldn't see the slides, but we will maybe circulate them afterwards, because many of the data you were mentioning are actually clearly shown on those slides, and it helps position the different countries, because this is, at the end of the day, as you said, a joint effort at EU level is requiring efforts at all member states level to improve the situation overall, and so it is important to see where all the countries are basically positioned. Just a few minutes, because you talked to us about what is in the pipeline also for the next Commission. I think this is also very important, also knowing that road safety will remain for sure a key objective and a key policy goal for the Union. If I just think about the motorcycling, I mean, you mentioned the roadworthiness package on the one hand. I mean, you mentioned driving license, which is partially gone through the legislative process but is not finished. What would you expect, or what would be your expectations when it comes to improvements from the sector at large? I mean, we have in the room here, from users to the industry to authorities at different levels of government, whether it's urban, regional, national, or even, of course, international, as we said. What would be, in your view, the area where with motorcycling there could be a major step forward to be made in the next 5 to 10 years? You talked about 2030 being an objective, of course, of further reducing fatalities. Where would you see that really coming from? Assuming there's a silver bullet, which there isn't probably, but okay.
So probably not, but that does not mean that there are not many silver bullets that altogether should lead to better road safety figures, and that's actually what we all are trying to achieve through this safe system approach. And that's why, if you look a little bit at the measures I have highlighted, you have elements related to infrastructure, where I think that, allowing the infrastructure to play entirely its role in helping to reduce the severity of possible crashes is an important one. Another one is certainly user behavior. And that's why I've started with the package that we have put on the table. And I think that here you really have these preventive measures. Now we can discuss whether, only foreseeing training and focusing the attention at the moment of the driving licenses is the right way forward. Remember that here we have also, in the context of the proposal, one point which relates to the long life training in the terms of road safety. And I think that here there's a lot of activities running at member states level which are aimed at achieving that goal. So remembering that when you take the car, when you take a truck, when you take a bike, wherever you are on a vehicle, which or mean of transport, including the motorcyclist, you take care of yourself as you should take care of the others too. And that's why we are trying to push very much more the attention on vulnerable road users. So that's one point I want to mention. Of course, enforcement is also part of the solution, I would say. And there too, we have now also a lot of other type of instrument where we want to extend the cooperation with member states. We have tried to engage also with the banking sector, with the European Bank of Investment to try to stimulate investment at national level through the exchange program, which I have not mentioned. The Road Safety Exchange Program, we are really trying to see how we can build on the strength of certain member states in others that are a little bit lacking behind. And there too, I think that through the facilitation of the cooperation between all sorts of authorities, being them at ministry level, but also at local level, might be an important one. So investment have been taken place on that front. When it comes to the roadworthiness package, of course, let's say there is some sort of urgency, right? On the one hand, because of the emission-related aspect, but also when it comes to the road safety elements. And I would also tend to say, and link it also a little bit to the general safety regulation, that all the things that we are bringing inside of a vehicle with the potential of helping us to reduce that and that and that, we really want to see that this is happening, right? So on that side, we want to make sure that actually the system works on the lifespan of the vehicle. On the other hand, we also want to make sure that actually the promises are being met, and that's why we have also a lot of expectation when it comes to this evaluation of the general safety regulation. Now, when I was saying that this should be still a joint effort, I think that we will also soon come to a point where we have to see how to take advantage and implement what we have already put on the table, negotiated and discussed at EU level. But on the other hand, there are still many more measures that can and should be taken also at local level and at national level. And this is where this overall comprehensive evaluation that we are launching should help us seeing where to focus much more the effort in the remaining period so that we are really able to make these figures go down, and not just because we have a disruption. Which we took advantage during the COVID time, right? So I would say not one single silver bullet, but the need to continue working on all fronts, because it's only through redundancy that we will be able to reduce, if not even stop, crashes that could have been avoided easily, to say the least. Thank you.
Thank you. So from Zaragoza, we thank you. Wish you all the best for the rest of the day, and we continue the discussion here. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.